Well, it's time for the newspapers again from Dinah. Dinah Poe, your wife. And this is your birthday today. So, Andrews Adugu, you work with the Attorney General's Department. You are in the Volta Regional Capital, and Dinah says that Charlie, more love for you. Your lunch is on me, but Dinah is preparing dinner this evening, so it works out. Somebody also celebrating the birthday today is Nanaya Jesse, Senior Lecturer, Kufodua Technical University, known well by Mahama also.
Roland, it's not his birthday, but I'm sending a lot of love to him. He's a very special friend. So Nanaya Jesse, who is my friend and mate, who is a senior lecturer at the Kufodua Technical University.
Fantastic.
But there are two other persons who are celebrating their birthday. They are also very special friends. Frank Natetete and Eugene Max Asari. Happy birthday to you both. Enjoy the day today. Yeah. Well, you're forcing a birthday on Nanaya Jesse.
Eugene is celebrating the birthday.
It's Eugene's birthday.
Too.
And Frank as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kwabna Chenchen Boateng is also celebrating
his birthday, yeah.
Kwabna is a sweet
I heard
guy,
the shouts.
Very mischievous, but Charlie, he's good.
If the bars were open, I would have said, you know, some drink up or something, but
and Israel also has the wife celebrating, Louisa celebrating the birthday today. Israel.
Ooh, easy, baby. Oh my God, and we can't hear anything he's saying. Somebody is sabotaging you, Israel.
Why is Roland forcing a birthday on everybody?
Oh, it's not Louisa's birthday?
It's not Louisa's birthday. Oh, Roland, where did you get that
false
from?
alarm.
I think that was fake news. I saw it on Facebook. Fake news. You know it's fake news. You know it's fake news.
How is she, by the way?
You know how Donald Trump said?
She's doing good.
Nice.
Still doing my makeup for me.
Yeah.
Oh, she's your makeup artist? Do you pay for it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, in kind.
All right. Do we have Evans Mensah joining us as well?
Not yet. All right. So, Israel, I understand you are doing the Statesman and Observer.
Yes. Okay. So
not yet.
The daily.
Not yet. Relax, Israel. I control things around here. And this is the only time I become relevant. So, and Mama V, you're doing.
Are you asking me or you're assigning me?
I'm assigning you.
I have the. You're okay. Then tell me what to do.
Daily Graphic and the Finder. Okay, so Israel, we'll start with you. Just do the headlines, and then we'll come back to look at the issues.
All right, so the Daily Statesman, we didn't elect weak Mahama for you. NPP replies NDC over rigging claims. And then government engages stakeholders on plan for post-COVID-19 restrictions. And the banner headline, Mahama linked to corrupt network. Top UK newspaper gives oxygen to £5 million Airbus bribery scandal. And then the Ghanaian Observer also has the NPP story. It says, NDC war drums over 2020 elections. Mahama needs rigging machine. We don't. That's the NPP saying that. And then government engages stakeholders post-COVID-19 safety measures. And then drinking bars, nightclubs remain closed as Ghana's COVID-19 case count reaches 5,530. And COVID-19 installed disinfection system at KIA, that's Guta, and illegal miners invade Bosomtwi Forest Reserve. So those are the two newspapers I'm reviewing.
Well, Mama V.
Let's go with the Daily Graphic. Front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. 7,823 payroll ghosts in 21 MDAs hurt to refund 564.2 million Ghana cedis looted cash. Well, the Auditor General may have been in contempt of courts, but he's certainly not giving up on his work. He's in action. This is all about him. Also, why Amidu is eligible to be special prosecutor. 9,000 hotel guest house workers laid off. NPP NDC haggle over electoral roll. And then there's a picture on the front page of the paper. It says, replace these drain covers. Drivers plying the Castle and Adabraka official town roads have called on the city authorities to, as a matter of urgency, replace steel drain covers which have been removed, consequently exposing vehicles to danger and accident. And they say for more than 5 months now, some unsuspecting drivers have had their vehicles damaged after running into exposed manholes on parts of the roads, especially at the Aponche Junction at Adabraka, as a result of the fact that their steel covers have been removed. Well, one thing I know, sometimes the authorities are just waiting for the media to highlight and then they will fix it. So trust me, this will be done before next week, or next week it will be done. You see the graphic reporting that it has been done. I don't know why sometimes they just want the media to put the spotlight on something that they see before they fix. Center spread, rising spate of COVID-19 infections could delay easing restrictions, according to the health minister, who says don't talk unnecessarily. Don't sing if you have nothing serious to say. Just keep quiet. Council of State donates to COVID-19 fund. GIS arrests 36 illegal migrants in Western region. Well, all the other things I said is not part of this story, only because I listened to him yesterday. So I'm just paraphrasing some of the things he said. On the back page of the Daily Graphic, Tema Motorway interchange open to traffic. New Jabbing South, Vivo Energy provide water for markets and lorry stations. Let me do my last paper, which is The Finder. Front page of The Finder on COVID-19. Morgues congested as families await lifting of restrictions to organize elaborate funerals. Government engages various stakeholders on post-COVID-19 safety measures, according to Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah. What is in the 2012 voters register for NDC? NPP poses that question. NDC accuses ECNIA of conniving to rig 2020 polls for NPP. And Dr. Macaulay supports Muslim chiefs as they fast. And by way of headlines, that's how the Finder looks today.
Okay, let's the Daily Dispatch has on the front page. Deputy Attorney General's take: delaying the elections would require a constitutional amendment. That's on page 2 of the paper. NPP will win 2020 polls with or without new voters register. Peter McMenu, campaign boss for 2020 NPP campaign. Many surprised as Health Minister drops bombshell. That's how it's been captured by the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Government does not believe in lockdowns. The virus is going to be with us for a long time. Cope. The Ghanaian Times has on the front page. Big contact tracing, testing begin in Tema. For those of us who live in the hotspots, we usually are more careful than we used to be, because it's always important that when these announcements are made, you're cautious. Yeah, tackling 533 positive cases at fish processing plant. Up there, we do have on the front page of the Ghanaian Times again, Tourism Minister orders drinking sports nightclubs to remain closed. And then they give us the latest update of the cases. Front page of the Daily Guide. Mahama $5 million Airbus scandal pops up in the UK. That's the Daily Guide front page. NPP has no rigging plans. Also on the front page of the Daily Guide. And Amidu's daughter exposes Ayariga lies. But we have a picture of the son, a quote from the son of it was about an actor. And if you read the story, it's quite fascinating. Had declared bankruptcy at some level, but owns a 400,000 pound house as well. And there was all this link because he was friends with one of. Anyway, Israel and Mamavi, what are we looking at?
All right. So I would. I'd like to go actually into the Daily Dispatch newspaper because there's some stories, some interesting stories there. Particularly the one having to do with the Tema, the fish processing factory in Tema opening. I think we should, we talked about it in passing sometime a few days ago. Yeah. I think on Monday or Tuesday.
I think Tuesday.
It turns out that the company is now operating. What I'm excited about, or what I'm happy about, as I read from the Daily Dispatch newspaper, is the fact that the company has decided to partially reopen. But then they're saying that they are doing this because they don't want a situation where they're going to have another spike in the cases. I'll read a bit of that to you. So the company, which closed on April 17 after an employee tested positive, reopened on Monday. So there was a reopening story that came up with a limited number of employees who had been cleared to carry out maintenance and clear backlogs. And there's a quote from the company, which is Pioneer Food Cannery Limited, by the way. It says, "We have decided to remain closed and have been making efforts to reopen in phases as workers are cleared to return to work following negative tests. It will run with limited capacity until it is able to return to full operations," the spokesperson said, which is good. The fact that they're taking the necessary precautions to ensure that we don't have a spike in cases. I want to think that that's the reason why we're seeing the story of massive contact tracing in Tema on the front page of the Ghanaian Times.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting case, and knowing that these number of people within the factory had been infected, 533. Even when the story was raised, we were concerned about the category or the demographics of people who usually work in factories, especially in that enclave or even in the industrial area of Accra. And they usually don't live in plush neighborhoods, in congested communities. It also means that they tend to interact more with people that you can't trace because you can't know their location.
More difficult to trace.
Exactly, exactly. Because, and I know many people who have worked not only at that cannery, but also other related companies around the Tema industrial zone. And you get to find that they undertake shifts. They will close, go and buy some kinky somewhere in the night, and they eat that kinky. They will interact with a young lady. Maybe they like that interaction, etc. They'll move on to somebody next, and you can't just trace.
Roland wants us to feel that he's like a hustler, but we all know that he's not.
But you know, yesterday the health minister did indicate that it was actually contact tracing that led them to the factory, which I thought was very revealing. And to think that one person that they were contact tracing led them to over 500. We need to take the precautions seriously. I doubt
apparently the number has actually gone up from 533 because they were retested. So, yeah.
Well, we just hope that we have this under control, seriously.
Yeah. There's a story on the 12th page of the Ghanaian Times, and it's the Right Reverend Dr. Nana Anyane Buedum, the founder and leader of Jesus Generational Ministries, appealing to the president to initiate an appropriate and enforceable law to make wearing of face masks mandatory for all citizens. I thought this was quite interesting. How do we mandate the authorities to enforce strictly and put that into law? And I don't know, I'm thinking wearing a face mask should not be engraved in any law. Rather, it should be more of a behavioral change, attitude, and then education that will compel people to find it more persuasive to be wearing face masks, because that should be the way it should go.
Roland, what happens when you're trying to persuade the people and the people are simply refusing to comply? And I think that's the issue the health minister raised yesterday, that we have to come to terms with the fact that this virus has come to stay. We're going to be living with it for a while. And so we need to do the things we have to do to keep us safe. And if you're supposed to wear a nose mask, and people are not wearing them, sometimes they don't even wear the nose mask very well. Sometimes they have the nose mask, but they keep them in their bags, and they say, you ask them, where's your nose mask? And they have it in my bag, or I have it in my pocket. It's not supposed to be in your pocket to protect your pocket. It's supposed to be on your face to cover your nose and your mouth. And so if people are refusing to comply, at some point, which is what the minister is saying, we probably would have to come up with a law that would mandate them. And if you refuse to comply, there should be sanctions.
No sanctions. How far and far-reaching could the sanctions go? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves. Are you going to detain the person for an hour, let the person undertake some community
I think you pay a fine. That should be easy. Yeah.
For not wearing face masks?
You pay a spot fine.
That's a very big
It should enrich the assemblies.
Yeah, except we don't have the fine system in place yet, so it's going to be difficult to implement that. And indeed, you can't send somebody to, really, it's not realistic to say you're going to send people to jail for not wearing those masks. Because even as we have it, our cells and our prisons are congested.
Yeah.
So where are you going to keep the people? So yes, if the fine system should work, but under the circumstances, it's going to take a while before that can happen.
All right.
Well, I'm happy the Auditor General is working, still very much working. The story in the graphic says that the Auditor General's department says it will surcharge officials whose weak supervision over the public payroll caused the country to lose 564.2 million Ghana cedis through unearned salaries by employees of ministries, departments, and agencies. We should be getting some money back into the state coffers if this succeeds, really.
Well, it's quite interesting, a story. I don't know what Israel thinks about it, but I know that in the first place, the related issue of ghost names have been with us. You could have traceable news stories, even dating to the First Republic, of so-called ghost names. And you can even trace it to the commissioners, so to speak, at the time. Even in the 90s up to the 2000s period, within the Fourth Republic, we've had concerns. Just recently in 2014, we had, well, you have the Deputy Minister of Finance, Monakwoti, who was quoted as having said that ghost names have been taken off in excess of over 30,000. Even just the last year, in the last 2 years, 2018, 2019, we're told that because of gift mix that had been implemented about 2 to 3 years earlier, well, we've been able to rate the payroll of ghost names. You remember SNIT also undertook some actions, making sure that people biometrically verified their details just to remove ghost names.
But we still have the ghosts.
So
somebody must be responsible.
I'm surprised.
I guess you can say that ghosts never die.
Well, we do know that people will keep dying.
Once a ghost, so you can't kill a ghost.
Yeah, you can't kill a ghost.
Maybe they should give up.
No, we're not. I'm just thinking that this action for the heads of the institutions would go a long way. It would help. It would help.
Oh, it should help. So yeah, hopefully next year we're not going to have another story where we're saying.
Okay, I won't be that optimistic.
Yeah, because for example, in 2014, I'm quoting Madam Monakwoti, and she says the wage bill will be reduced by this government by 13% after clearing all ghost names. 13%, and we're clearing ghost names since 2014, and we still have not come to a head. Yeah. And that speaks volumes about our behavior, because somebody is putting the names out there to make sure that they make the returns, just transmitting it straight away, crediting the accounts at the end of each month.
Maybe we need an exorcist to come and exercise all those.
All right, there's also a fascinating story about, families not organizing funerals, not burying the dead, and so the morgues are congested. There's Richard Kofi Jordan, General Secretary of the Mortuary Workers Association, who's been speaking to the Finder and talking about the fact that families are weightlifting of restrictions to organize elaborate funerals. And we thought people wanted to do things small and manage, right, and save some money, but apparently not. People still want to organize the big funerals, and so the bodies of their loved ones still remain in the morgues.
I know somebody very close.
Henry Kwesi Bedu, I believe, did this story some weeks back. And see, people love funerals. And the funerals, from what I understand, is actually, there's a whole economy around the funeral. Especially...
Explain further.
Okay, so if you go to a rural community, or, well, not necessarily rural, but people expect that if there's a funeral, and the funeral has to happen in the hometown, the person's hometown. And that's why they always insist that the funeral should come home, the body should come home. And so they claim it. When you go to conduct the funeral, you would spruce up the family house. There'll be renovations. You bring provisions. You bring a whole lot of things, and you would assign people to do jobs. So somebody has to do this, somebody has to do that. And all through, I mean, by doing that, they also get something into their pockets. And so as for funerals, they have to be big so that people can, you know, have something around it. But if you have a small funeral, you know, private one, everything quiet, family doesn't benefit. The extended family doesn't benefit. That is the reason why if they don't want small funerals. The funeral has to be big. Yeah. But apart from that, you also know that people want to, if the person is prominent, even if the person is not prominent, they want to make a lot of noise about the fact that the person is passed on. And so word has to go out that this person has died. And the donations can come in.
I see. We're just having this discussion with a friend 2 days ago, and it's because somebody I know had the father passing before the lockdown period, and up to now the person has not been buried. And I asked my friend, why haven't you buried your dad? And he says, my dad, to bury him in this period. And you know, look, all of us would travel to his home states.
But things won't be the same, things will not be the same even if we lift the restrictions. It won't be the same. We will still be social distancing and wearing the mask. You can't be sure that everybody that you invite to a funeral will show up.
Are you sure?
That's true. That's
true. It won't be the same.
But they would rather want to wait and see if they want to wait till it happens.
Yeah.
But yes, for now, it's not really a good idea for some of these people.
Well, our time is up.
Let's check out what's on my jawline. Yeah. There's a story you want to look at?
Oh, it's just the tangle or the back and forth between NPP and NDC over whether the EC should conduct voters register, etc. I wanted to pick Israel.
We'll find it on my jawline. So let's go through my jawline and then we can have a conversation
jabs at each other, and I found out quite interesting. The NDC came in to say something, and then the NPP comes in and says. So the NPP says. The NDC says, why are you so fixated on having a new voters register when you actually won without, needing a new voters register or with the old register? Then the NPP also comes in and says,
why not?
Okay, so why are you also so fixated? What is it about the old voters register that you can't seem to let go? And I think it's interesting, this banter between the two.
We'll find the press conferences held on myjournline.com back to back. 24-year-old social media influencer arrested for spreading fake news. We've shared that story with you here on Joy News. Ghana's COVID-19 case count is now 5,600 okay, am I reading 530? Roland, please help.
Okay, 5,530.
Yeah, 5,530 with some 674 recoveries so far. We also do have our situation would be dire if spread of coronavirus isn't stopped. That's Health Minister. Other stories are also there about pregnant police woman injured after a vehicle rammed into a police station. But the story about the abuse of the 3-year-old and the father who abused that son is to go for psychiatric evaluation. And other stories all on the portal, myjournline.com.
Well, coming up on the AM show this morning, we're talking about how safe is intimacy with a partner, particularly at this time. You know, we try to get it clear on the kissing and sex, but we wanted to expand the conversation a bit because we know people worry about some of these little stuff around this time. How safe is it to kiss?
Some of these little, please. little what? Mama V.
Okay, so I mean, I'm saying little, but it's not really little. How close can you get to someone around this time? I mean,
are you asking Israel how?
I'm asking you. I'm asking all of you.
Israel, how do you do it? How do you have sex?
Okay.
No, that's not the question.
You're a couple. You live in the same house, and the law doesn't stop you from, there's not supposed to be social distancing in your home. Okay. So let us allow us to live our normal lives. If we have to step out of the house, then yes, we can practice social distancing. But so long as we are in the house, No social distance.
Okay, so that's actually a safe scenario that you've painted. What if you're what if it's not a marriage situation?
Well, if it's a marriage situation, you're on your own.
No, but let's say you're cohabitating or you're dating.
Or you're cohabitating, you're living in the same house.
And
So it's the same as
or you
marriage
date.
situation.
You're dating your boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah. Are you living in the same house?
No.
You meet
Okay,
once
then
in a
that's a
while.
problem.
Can you still
That's
kiss?
a problem. They should stop you people.
Because, we set the record straight with a virologist on can you get coronavirus through kissing. Now we want to go beyond because it's not just about kissing. You can, get touchy and get close and that kind of stuff. So we pulled the virologist back on the show.
Yeah, put the virologist back on the show. But clearly, if you're going to get intimate with somebody, they say social distancing. If you defy the social distancing protocol, you will get it, whether it's your boyfriend or your girlfriend.
Asemo, Charlie. Okay. All right. So if you've got questions, Izzy, we have to end it here.
Charlie,
we'll catch up with you. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the weekend. Yeah.
We're taking a break.
You don't.
I'm
You
social
don't, right?
distancing.
No, he doesn't apparently. He's the only stranger in the room.
The story on my journal online about the guy spreading the fake news. I think we should make a lot more noise about it because people thought they could use the anonymity of social media to put out all sorts of fake news. But now I'm sure he says he's learned his lesson. I hope he has learned his lesson. And the message has to go out there that if you're putting out fake news, the state could come for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Izzy, thank you very much for your company this week on the review on the AM show. We'll catch up with you.
It's been a pleasure doing this with you.
Well, thank
yourself
you.
and
We'll meet on Monday. Have some great time having sex.
Seriously? All right, guys, stay with us. We've got sports coming your way, but also join Reverend Professor Kwamina Sego, who is a virologist. We put all the intimacy questions to him on the show. We've got Flo Kingston also live on the show this morning. He's been vibing and trending. We'll talk about his new music that he put up and a whole lot more. Stay with us.